once you edit it.
Yeah, it's more just giving you your context so you know what to say.
Yep.
All right. So we are live right now. We are with Baylor Lariat's Jeffrey Cohen, part of the radio team, and was immersive in the game on Saturday. He had the privilege to color commentate for the Baylor ASU game. So he had a little bit more of some front row seats compared to us behind that screen. But again, I just want to say welcome, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for hopping on the show, and hope you're ready to talk some ball. I hope you're not too upset after that outcome on your guys' end.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. You know, it's a little bit of a crushing loss towards the end as, you know, just a Baylor fan, Baylor student, but either way, that game was absolute cinema. So either way, I was pretty happy just to be able to, you know, call that game and just get to witness just a great football game.
Cool. Yeah. So he was saying crushing loss for Baylor. Now, if ASU doesn't come out of that one, what would you say, Jacob, in terms of like the direction and how you would feel ASU would have performed, or general outlook if it was the opposite end?
If ASU loses that game, I don't want to say their season's over because it is a long season, but their hopes of being anything that they wanted to be early in the season were gone. You can't lose your first game in the Big 12 play, especially after that heartbreaking loss at Mississippi State a couple weeks ago.
And then on your end, Jeffrey, how impactful do you think this outcome will be on Baylor's season? If they did come out of this game with a W, you know, how are you looking at this Baylor team? Are you higher on them, or do you feel like they just satisfied expectations in this game and it would have just been a really good home win?
I think a win definitely would have elevated how I thought of this team. I know there's a ton of expectations coming into the season, right? With Sawyer Robertson coming back, a lot of transfers on the defense, just offense kind of keeping a really good core together from last year. And offensively, for most of the season, it's been what we kind of expected. Sawyer Robertson's been fantastic. But really, it was that defense that through the first couple games was pretty rough. I mean, especially that run defense against Auburn was really bad. Gave up over 300 yards.
Yeah, run defense against Auburn. Yeah, Jackson Arnold shouldn't have scored on that 4th and goal against you guys that one time.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that play, and it's like, you know, you could tell that some of those linebackers were fighting on that read option jet sweep and, you know, just left a hole down the middle. But with this game...
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, yeah, but with this game, I mean, I thought I saw a lot of strides, especially from that run defense. If you look at the stats, it doesn't tell you that they did a good job. They gave up 179 rushing yards to the Sun Devils, but I think a lot of that was more towards the beginning of the game, towards the first quarter and the first half. Then they definitely settled in later, and I think I saw a lot of really good stepping stones for that defense, just being able to stop the run, keep kind of Release Brown at bay, not letting him kind of break off more big runs than what you wanted.
Release Brown definitely minimized towards the second half.
But they just weren't fully able to put it together enough, right? Offense struggled for most of the game, and then you just come up short on walk-off field goals. So you just
how impactful do you think the departure of Travion Barnes was early in that game for you guys? Do you think like that was a component to maybe the run defense being a little less subpar on Saturday?
Yeah, I'd say so. Normally when you see a guy like him, just, you know, a senior linebacker kind of go down, you just don't feel great about it. But I think just his reaction to it, I mean, he's hyping up his guys, you know, he's yelling at him like, hey, y'all got to step up. All right, this is
even on the stretcher. He was getting hype. He was screaming at him like, "Let's go, guys!"
Exactly.
And that was an early game too.
I mean, had me worried. I thought they were gonna play for him the rest of the game.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
never liked those moments.
Yeah, and I mean, but his reaction's what made all the difference. Like you see a guy that's, you know, a senior who's been in this program for a long time. He was preseason third team All Big 12. You see him go down, and you don't feel great about it. But I mean, his reaction, I think, said it all, and I think that really helped the defense kind of intensify throughout the game.
And then I want to get you on this context clue. So this is probably the most interesting stat. So for the entire third quarter, Baylor possessed the ball for a total of 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Compared to ASU's time of possession, even the scoreboard didn't reflect a huge difference in scoring. I felt like the biggest component to this game was how intentional ASU were with their drives. When they had an empty possession, it was because they missed a deep ball. It was because they overthrew or Jordan Tyson didn't catch that amazing 50-yard ball. Whereas Baylor's empty possessions, there wasn't really an explosive attempt. It was just settling out. The drive would just settle it out. And the whole thing was, there was what I felt like what the problem was is that Sawyer Robinson wasn't able to get into a passing rhythm. I feel like Spavital was trying to keep that run game present. Bryson Washington had an amazing game. He played really well against ASU's defensive fits. But the problem was Sawyer Robinson he was playing comfortable ball. He was going for the comfortable looks, trying to get what was easy, what was coming to him. But we didn't see that aggressiveness that maybe we would have saw in like the games like against SMU when they do come back in that fourth quarter drive. You see him a little bit more gunslinging. I'm gonna give my guy a chance. And you guys did have your explosives in the fourth quarter, and it ended up being a great game in the fourth quarter, just in terms of offensive production. But I did feel like that third quarter in itself stapled the win for ASU. How do you feel about that, Jeffrey?
I think you got it spot on. That's exactly what I thought coming out of that game and coming out of what the Lariat Radio, what we did in our post game, is that we kind of touched on that, how with Jake Spavital, like, we've seen Sawyer Robertson the first two games. I mean, he threw for well over 400 yards both those
400
times.
Yards, yeah. Sawyer Robinson's good.
And I think the best word to use for that was I was really confused. I was like, this guy's one of the best arms in college football. And I mean, when he's on, he's on. So you just got to let him just let loose, let him sling that thing downfield. And I mean, it was just time after time he's throwing 5-10 yards on a slant, whatever, that are heavily contested, right? He's forcing balls that aren't going to be that productive in the end, instead of, maybe trying to bomb one downfield, even with, starting safety Xavier Alford. He was out for the game. So why not try to test Adrian Wilson when you have an elite quarterback like Sawyer Robertson and receivers who can really go downfield and are very good at making contested catches?
And I want to bring this context up as well. I think the three most weighty plays in Saturday's game was that missed fourth down conversion on Baylor's end when Sawyer tried to get Kobe Wilson on a quick slant route and Javen jumped him and deflected that ball. Felt like that was a very weighty down. But then on Baylor's end, positively, stopping ASU and Kanye Udo on a 4th and 1 I formation run. But then what is that response? It's Sawyer Robinson being a little too aggressive in the Spavital offense, and he overthrows or underthrows his little back shoulder, and Keith Abney is able to jump it and fully extend that one. So that's when I was really alluding to the rhythm. Like, there was no rhythmic offense with Baylor because they weren't playing to the strengths of Sawyer Robinson, or he wasn't confident in the strengths or his abilities to convert against this ASU defense. Yeah.
I mean, well, I was thinking kind of my idea going into it, because he had a rough game against Samford last week. I mean,
that was his worst game.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. That was probably his worst start in college. And I think part of the idea is that maybe he lost a bit of confidence, but I think you got to come in and maybe start off the game with a couple of, short throws, quick throws, getting the ball out early, kind of get a feel for how that pass rush is going to be. Because, I mean, that the ASU front line, I mean, they're dangerous. I mean, I was looking at, their stats coming in, and it seems like every single one of them had a good number of tackles for loss, some of them a good number of sacks as well. So I think you got to get a good idea of what it was early, and then you got to, as you said, go to your strength and just let Sawyer do what he does best, and that's throwing the ball down the field. That's what won them the game in Dallas against SMU, and that's what's going to win them games going forward throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. And then, Jacob, I want you to expand on Sawyer Robinson and his case to be in the Heisman conversation, or was he before this game, and does this put a stain in your eyes on the quarterback?
Was he actually in the Heisman conversation? I wouldn't say he was there. Just the way the national media works. Should he have been?
Okay.
Yeah. Going into this game, before this week, yes. After this week, no. It's just the same reason Sam Levitt was in the Heisman contention after game 1, and then after game 2, the answer was definitely no.
Yep.
It's the same thing. You have to perform for almost all 12 weeks, 11 out of 12 at least. And I don't see that happening for Robertson. I think Baylor will win plenty of games this year. I have to look at their schedule to see exactly how many games, but
we'll go over that.
They'll win plenty of games this year, but I don't think that they're going to beat 11-1 or 10-2 and beat. He won't. I don't think he'll be in that conversation. I think he'll be a top 5 quarterback this year in college football. He's got a hell of an arm. He's amazing. He's amazing
talent around him.
Yeah,
this wide receiver corps is amazing.
Receivers are great, but I just don't see it for either him or Levitt, to be honest with you, this year.
Okay, so I want you to expand on what we were saying about ASU's offense and trying to get them in a rhythm the first few weeks, because I feel like now this is what Baylor needs to do. Yeah,
and I think you saw it in that second half from ASU's offense is what happens when you do get them in a rhythm. I mean, Levitt in the third and fourth quarter, they finally figured it out.
Yeah,
seems like he finally figured out, got himself in a rhythm, was hitting Eusebio, was hitting Tyson. He was getting all of his receivers involved, and that's what's going to benefit him for the rest of the season. And if Robertson can do that, I don't know what went in the game plan in that second half. I don't know what they talked about at halftime. Whatever ASU did, if Robertson and Baylor can replicate that a little bit in the next game that they play, they're going to be just fine. That offense played very well at moments of this game.
Yeah, Baylor plays great fourth quarter offense for sure.
So if they can just get a little bit more dynamic, maybe take more shots down the field. Throws in one interception, he throws one interception. But I think taking shots down the field is going to help. And you saw that ASU's offense open up the second they hit the 63-yard pass to Eusebio on third down. It opens up the run game, and then it opens up the short passing game as well. And that's where I think ASU struggled, and that's where Baylor struggled for sure in this game.
Yeah, and when you were calling the game, Jeffrey, did you feel like this was an evenly matched game? Like, how were the momentum swings on your end, on your perspective?
Yeah, I would say coming into this game, someone had asked me, what's your score prediction? And I was like, you know what, usually I'll have some answer, but this time I really didn't. I thought both teams overall were evenly matched, and they both
evenly matched for sure.
Yeah, and I think each of them, they obviously have some great strengths, but also some glaring weaknesses. And I thought, looking at it, Arizona State, their run game, that's their strength in the offense going up against Baylor's weakness in the defense, and then Baylor's great passing game. That's kind of hard for anybody to really defend when, obviously they're being more aggressive like they were the first 2 weeks. So I thought, coming into the game was very evenly matched, and I thought it was very evenly matched throughout. I think both defenses did a great job through the first half. Honestly, through the first 3 quarters, I thought both defenses did a great job of stepping up to the occasion, right? You talked about some of those fourth down plays, let's see, Arizona State didn't convert in the third quarter. Baylor didn't convert in the second. But yeah, I think those were the moments. It's things like that where it can make or break a drive, right? If you don't convert, obviously the drive's over. But if you're able to make it, that puts so much wind in your sails. Right now, you're invigorated because this was a do or die moment, and we succeeded. And I think both teams pretty much converted at a pretty equal rate, I'd say.
And it really just came down to the responses from turnovers. How are you going to play complementary football over the course of this game? And that's what I was saying originally, was that third quarter mishap with no time of possession on Baylor's hands. Like, you can't go out of halftime, first time you touch the ball, all this hype, and then Josh Cameron fumbles it away, which was a great takeaway from ASU. But then the same thing goes when you respond to that 4th and 1 stop, and Sawyer Robinson it was a badly timed throw. So you can't respond and play complementary football or attempt to play complementary football when that is the outcome to those kind of turnovers or weighty plays. So again, I actually like that take a lot on not being able to predict the score this week. I didn't even predict a score this week because I probably couldn't have. I would have been in the same boat. It's just going to be a really close game. And, ASU won the old-fashioned way, just went off a field goal kick, like don't give them an opportunity to respond. Like, just you get your chance. Oh, great. Michael Trigg, good for you. Now we're just going to do our thing and get out of here. So I thought Saturday was amazing. So I just wanted to say, like, yeah, great game, like very inviting crowd. Like, it was really cool to see like Mcclane Stadium for the first time from like an ASU's fan perspective. Like, we're so Pac-12 oriented. Now we're getting into the Big 12. Like, this is going to be new for us the next few years. So I thought that was a really good Big 12 Classic game. And now going into our closing segment, I want to hear a little bit about how you view this team going forward. So we're looking at our schedule here. I'd say it definitely gets a little bit easier. They got Oklahoma State next week, and then the week after they have Kansas State. They'll be going to Stillwater, so it still will be a hostile environment, but there's a lot of criticism behind Oklahoma State and Gundy's tenure right now. They're saying Gundy is selling the team just so he can get a $15 million bonus and get resigned from the team. There's a lot going on in Stillwater, but I think we can confidently say Baylor should be able to respond these next two games. What do you think about that, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think these two games, they're must wins. You got to win the games that you're going to be favored in, right? Oklahoma State's had a disaster of a season so far. I mean, like you said, nothing's really been going from it. And then K-State, same thing, right?
Yeah, they're like the Kansas of this year, from last year.
Yeah, and it's like they had such high expectations coming into the season, and they just haven't been able to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you got to win these two games. You got to start creating some momentum, because then you're going to be going into Fort Worth to play TCU, and that's obviously never
that might be that might be your guys' hardest game. The rest of the season, all they have is TCU in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I don't see another game where I'm really shaking my hands for Baylor. I like you guys in Tucson beating Arizona.
Please do.
I think you guys have the identity to trample a team like Arizona. And then going into Cincinnati, Queen City, you just have to stop Sorsby's run game. And Baylor can do that if they're one-dimensional, right? Like, I think if Auburn-Baylor game was played this week, I think Baylor probably has more of an edge, like, competitively, But everything was so fresh week one. Baylor kind of knew what they had. Auburn kind of knew what they had. And it was just the running game from the quarterback made more plays. And ASU used that a lot as well. We had a lot of designed Sam Levitt runs this week, which I am so appreciative of. I love when we get him in a rhythm through his legs. But my whole thing is, I think this team is just gets better over the course of the season, just like they did last year. But I do see Baylor potentially winning out or just getting one more loss on the season. How do you feel about that, Jeffrey, getting out of this season looking 9-3?
Yeah, I would say, TCU, I'd say, is the hardest challenge they have. I think I'm also looking to Utah on November 15th. That's another, it's another challenge I think Baylor's really got to face. But I think they're set up for it. I think they're set up very well because, like you said, they're battle tested against mobile quarterbacks, right? They faced Jackson Arnold week one. They faced Kevin Jennings week two, and then they're facing Sam Levitt just 2 days ago. So I think now that it's more than just watching the film, they know exactly how these dual threat quarterbacks, how they work, right? All those three guys, I wouldn't say they're too terribly different in their play style. So I think like a Sorsby, exactly. You have a good idea. I think it's a better way to put it. You have a better idea of how to attack quarterbacks that can run, that can hurt you from different angles. And I think, if they can really start to build up some momentum like they did last year, finish the regular season on a 6-game win streak, I think that's going to make all the difference. So these next two games are going to determine the season, whether they're going to be contenders possibly for a Big 12 championship, depending on how other teams finish the season, or are they just going to be, a middle of the pack team and finish kind of, 8-4 like they did last year?
Yeah, middle manning the Big 12. I do want to hear that take from you. Do you think there will be a contender in the Big 12 championship with 2 conference losses? Or do you think that you have to be near perfect with only 1 conference loss to get into this Big 12 this year?
I would say at least I think there will be at least one team. I think right now, looking at like Tech and Iowa State are the front runners right now for the Big 12 championship. But I do think, I think a lot of these teams are fairly evenly matched, and you never know what you're going to get on a specific week, right? We just saw Tech beat the brakes off of Utah, who's been playing very well.
It was the QB2 as well. Will Hammond stepped in.
Exactly. And so you just don't really know what you're going to get when, 2 evenly matched Big 12 teams are going to play each other. So I think Baylor could have, a very good opportunity to make the Big 12 championship if they do and win out and only have 2 losses. I think if they lose one more, then I think that might ruin their chances of making it to Jerry World. But if they win out, I think there is a very good shot. I think there's a good chance that they could be competing for another Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I think if they win out, or even if they do beat TCU and have a really good stretch, maybe fall to a trap game, I still think they're in that conversation because they would only have 2 conference losses. So, I mean, yeah, it's not really the end of the world in Waco. Like, I think you guys still have a really good season. Schedule-wise, I think it's easier. At ASU, we have to play Tech, Iowa State. I like our matchups, but just in terms of like the strengths of the conference, like we are contending and playing all these guys. So it will be interesting to see how the Sun Devils fare out. But yeah, I think I think you guys got some stuff to look forward to, honestly. So I'm glad we did this segment to like go over the schedule, kind of put a little bit more of a positive spin on the team after Saturday. But is there anything else you wanted to add, Jeffrey? Any closing statements?
I'd say, on y'all's end, just for Arizona State, I think that that's one of the toughest teams I think I've seen, just in terms of, they're so physical. And I mean, they're just, even in a game that was close, one score felt like the entire way. They're very physical, and I really like that defensive front. I like, those 2 edge rushers they got, right, and those 2 guys in the middle, right. You got CJ Fight and Jacob Rich Kingaika. I mean,
CJ Fight, Jacob Rich, yeah, man.
Yeah, those guys are tough. But that's what I was worried about, and I was really surprised when I saw, in the end that Bryson Washington got another 100+ yard game. So I was like, I thought this was going to be kind of a repeat of Auburn, because our weakness on offense is going to be playing against their strengths on defense. So I was pleasantly surprised to see Bryson Washington do so well. But I think the Sun Devils got some dogs. I'll say that. They got some dogs, and I do really look forward to seeing them just kind of continue throughout their Big 12 schedule.
Well, thank you for that, Jeffrey. We got some dogs, so thank you for that. I appreciate that a lot. Again, like, this is just going to be a really fun season. The Big 12 is as competitive as ever. I think it's way more entertaining than last year because there's more question marks. There's more talent. I still think there's some Cinderella teams out there. Like, I really like what Houston can do with Connor Wigman. I really like what UCF can do with Taven Jackson. I don't know if we can count out Utah yet. I mean, it was a bad performance, but they still are a really good team. And then us, just subjectively hating U of A, they do look better this year. So there are some teams out there, and then we can probably put like a middleman title on a few teams after this week, after like the first few weeks of Big 12 conference play. Like, we could probably put West Virginia in that conversation after this week. Maybe we can talk TCU middlemaning the Big 12, but they've also looked good. So it'll be interesting to see these next few weeks. But again, I wish you guys the best of luck just over the course of this season. I hope to see you guys in Jerry's World. That'd be a really good rematch. You guys would definitely have like that revenge tour.
Yeah, that I think it would be even better of a game than it was on Saturday. I think.
Oh yeah. Especially if you guys are off a winning streak, which you guys already proved you could do with last year's team. So if you guys just like stack up some of these wins over the course of the next few weeks, maybe even, fall a trap game in Tucson, Arizona, still, you guys aren't going to get any hate. You guys will be ranked at 9-3, and then most likely contending because I do think there'll probably be a 2-loss team in the Big 12 championship this year, honestly. So, and there's no way just 2 teams come out of this conference with only 1 loss. There's no way. So, all right, Jeffrey. Well, thank you so much. Again, this is Jeffrey Cohen from the Baylor Radio, color commentated for Saturday night's game. So again, thank you so much for the insight recap. And again, hopefully we'll talk again soon for basketball season, but I wish you the best of luck this year in football.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for having me on y'all's show. I really look forward to seeing y'all again. All right. Take care.
For sure, Jeffrey. You take care. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too.